Okay, good afternoon everybody. I'm Luke, Head of Community. Welcome to June's Community Call. Today we're going to go over what we've been up to, what's coming up ahead, and also we'll be taking some of your questions. If you have any questions that come up over the course of this call, please feel free to make use of the Minima stage questions channel. We've got Neo from the team keeping an eye on that and feeding questions through as they come up. And this call is recorded, so later on today we'll get it up onto YouTube for anyone that wants to listen again or catch up. Today I'm joined by CEO Hugo Filer, and also I'm joined on here today with Jasmine, and sort of our head of technical comms. So welcome both Hugo and Jazz.
Hello.
Before we get going, Hugo, would you like to say hello and provide any updates that you have for us all?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you, as ever, for joining us. Great to be all here. Before we get into the meat of things, just wanted to sort of give you a quick update from my side. As we move on from our mainnet launch, we've really got three key areas of focus. Stress testing and stabilising the network, which we'll come on to in a second. Bringing on board developers and growing out our ecosystem. And of course, last but by no means least, working with enterprise to drive adoption. We'll have various updates during the call on these three areas. I also think, before we get into that, it's worth noting that although we've had a number of issues on the network, we've actually had zero downtime on the network itself. So even when some of the nodes have gone down or had issues, the network continued to function. And this is, of course, a key benefit of having such decentralized infrastructure, and something very few blockchain networks can actually claim in terms of zero network downtime. So that's very positive as we move through to progress Minima. And also a quick note to say that we'll be updating the messaging on our website this week to really pull out the key benefits of using Minima as a solution. And we'll be concentrating on the idea of connecting the world's devices. Because it's estimated that there'll be over 140 billion connected devices by 2030. Minima is unique in being able to allow devices to interoperate and interact in a secure way to communicate and transfer value without the need for intermediaries. And this has always been our stated aim. And we're finding out now that enterprises and builders are really beginning to see the commercial value in this. Because, of course, beyond the incentive program, it's the utility that running a Minima node provides that will drive adoption. And so I look forward to getting into more detail on the utility side of Minima during this call. I look forward to I'll get more involved in a second. I'll be back to you, Luke.
Cheers, thanks for that, Hugo. So updates from our side. As always, we've been busy behind the scenes, working hard to develop new utility cases for Minima. I'm happy to announce on the automotive front that we've signed an agreement with race driver Micah Stanley. Micah competes in the Porsche Carerra Cup, Great Britain and Benelux competitions, and in partnering with us, he provides us access to his 911 GT3 race car, which will allow us to continue the development of our solution for real-time, secure, provenanced vehicle telematics. This solution is one that has wide-reaching application in all road cars, but the benefit to us in using a race car as a starting point is that the data we can provide has real-world benefit in single-make racing competitions without being safety critical. And this gives us the freedom to develop out the use cases in a controlled environment in collaboration with professional race engineers without risk of interfering with car safety features, proving the technology actually works to manufacturers ahead of deeper conversations about broader vehicle-to-vehicle or vehicle-to-everything use cases. With racing specifically, the data we capture can be used to speed up team engineers' work rate, improve pit-to-driver communications around driving style on track, which makes them more competitive. Also, it can allow us, or it will allow race stewards to make decisions on racing incidents with data instead of just eyewitness accounts or reporting from on-track stewards alone. That particular last use case provides great excitement to Micah in particular, because this season already he's received an on-track penalty which was meant for a completely different driver after he got misidentified, and it cost him championship points. Another feature of this partnership is that Micah will actually be able to offer us some hospitality at his races within Great Britain and Europe. So I'd ask everyone to keep an eye out for competitions that we'll be putting on around this, because we want to share that partnership, or that opportunity that comes through the partnership with you in the community.
So Luke, just to say, on a lighter note as well, since we've had our Minima branding on the vehicle, and hopefully some of you have seen the images from that, we've actually had both weekends had podium finishes for Mika. So Minima's been getting some great exposure on that side of things as well, which is obviously all good to hear.
Yeah, he's been doing really well, and I like to think his performance is greatly enhanced by having our logo on his car. Good for 2/10. Another development in the automotive space I wanted to mention is a product we're developing with one of our partners that aims to revolutionise how people access EV charging. Whilst I can't go into full detail today, I did want to give you a little tease. The two biggest factors that prevent people moving to electric vehicles is the actual cost of buying a new one and range anxiety. Or more specifically, the challenge is in finding somewhere to charge their vehicle away from home that is on their route and not busy. Electric vehicles are starting to become more widely attainable now as the second-hand market starts to grow, but the charging infrastructure problem still remains. So what we're working on today addresses this, solving an issue that is not only a deciding factor in people choosing whether or not to buy an EV, but also impacting everyone who's already made the jump away from an internal combustion engine vehicle. That's all I can say on it today, but expect far more detail on this exciting work we're doing in the coming weeks. So then, moving away from automotive, I wanted to remind you all that there is a competition open right now in collaboration with Meme to Earn. This platform allows you to earn through making memes. There's a prize pool available of $1,500 of native Minima, as well as a share of 1 trillion Meme to Earn tokens. All you need to do to compete is create a meme about Minima and automotive, set up an account on their platform, which you can find at https://meme-to-earn.com, and then post your meme in the Minima competition category. The competition will be closing within the next couple of weeks, so don't delay. And may the best meme win. That's everything from my side. Jaz, you got any updates for everyone?
Thanks, Luke. Yeah, hi everyone. So I just wanted to touch quickly on some of the issues that we saw over the weekend, and now I'll move on to some more exciting announcements. So yeah, on Friday night, someone in the community decided that they were curious to see what would happen if they sent a lot of transactions with a lot of outputs to one node, and this significantly increased the size of the MMR database. The MMR database stores the coins and all the UTXOs for all of the users on the network for the last 200 blocks or so, and it's processed by all nodes. And because this is stored in RAM, which is the fast access memory, this became too much for some phones to handle. So this was causing out of memory issues, which then meant that Minima wouldn't start up on some phones. And we don't really see desktop nodes affected by this, because it wasn't actually huge, the amount of data. It was about 400 megabytes uncompressed, but it was too much for the phones anyway. So even though this did take down a portion of the mobile nodes, as Hugo mentioned earlier, the chain did continue to produce blocks every 50 seconds as expected, which is why being distributed amongst so many nodes is so important. And those that could handle the memory continued as normal. So once we pushed the fix out on Saturday, then those phone nodes were able to update and rejoin the network. So the fix just required some optimizations to reduce the memory consumption. So now you might notice that when your node starts up, it might take a bit longer because the MMR database is now stored on disk as opposed to in RAM. And it's important to note as well that these aren't protocol level changes. So we're not affecting the validity of any transactions. We're optimizing the processing required because we're still restricted, obviously, by the current performance of mobile phones. And it's obviously important that Minima does continue to run on a mobile phone. So on the plus side, it did push us to look even deeper into alternative memory optimizations so that we can continue to run Minima on a phone. And I'm sure we'll continue to see potential attack vectors. That is the nature of blockchain. And Minima does need to be able to withstand attacks. Obviously, it's not for us to say what people can and can't do on the network. If the code allows it, then it's possible to do. But if you do think you've come up with an attack vector that hasn't been thought of, then if you support Minima and you want to see it do well, we would ask that you approach us and kind of explain your thinking and run it on the test network first. It is super easy to start test nodes on Minima. So you can start a private network and you'll have 1 billion testnet coins to play with. Once it's been tested on a testnet, then we'd be interested to know the results and see if it would require any changes before running on mainnet, ideally. So apologies to anyone whose node did stop running. The latest update should resolve any issues you've had with your phone or node, with your node not starting. And if you do find yourself out of sync with the chain, then you can restore a recent backup or do a chain resync. And if you do need help, then there are plenty of people in the community who will be happy to help you out.
I was just going to say, Jaz, on that point, if anyone does find an attack vector and report it to us in the way that Jaz is asking, then there are bounties available for that. So please do come forward with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll move on now to talk a little bit about the new look and feel, the new experience. As you'll have all seen, we're in the process of creating a new user experience for Minima. And those of you who are running a desktop node will have seen this, and those on Android will have had a taster. So previously, the hub, where you see all of your mini dApps, and the Android application can only be updated by us. So it's quite inflexible and not particularly decentralized. With this new experience, the hub itself will actually become a mini dApp, and the Android application itself will just be a shell. And so in the future, the idea is that we won't have to keep pushing new updates to the Google Play Store. We'll simply release an update to a mini dApp, and that will update your whole experience on Minima. And the Hub Mini dApp will allow you to do everything that you currently do in the Hub, so installing mini dApps, updating, removing, etc. And what's actually quite interesting is that this means that anyone will be able to create their own hub, potentially, and change the look and feel to however they want it to be. And so the benefits of this, already mentioned that we won't have to keep pushing new updates to the Play Store, but also it will give desktop users the same experience as mobile users. Before, desktop users had to use the command line, the terminal, to do quite a lot of things like backing up, accepting pending commands. And going forward, we're going to make all of these components into mini dApps. So we'll have a security mini dApp where you do your backups, your locking of your node. We'll have a pending mini dApp so you can accept pending transactions easily. A new logs mini dApp so you can easily see your logs, etc. So if you're using the phone, the Android node at the moment, everything that you have in your menu on the home page will become a mini dApp. So Vault, Archive, Logs, etc. And that will just make it a more unified experience across desktop and mobile. And I think it also demonstrates that Minima is more than just a blockchain. It's its own ecosystem using blockchain as its base, for consisting of this peer-to-peer communication layer, Maxima, and then on top of that, you've got these mini dApps where you can build any application that you like. So the next step is to remove the current homepage, and when you open the app, you'll be taken straight into the new hub with all of the new mini dApps and the new look and feel. Beyond that, we are continuing to remove the points where users need to rely on us. So things like joining the network, archive nodes, etc. We're trying to limit the scope for any centralization and reliance on us. So further down the line, we'll be introducing a step where when you start a new node, you'll need to get some IP addresses of node runners that are already using Minima, and that will be how you join the network. Because at the moment, when you start a new node, you connect to some of our default relay nodes. So we'll be focusing on that. And then we'll also be introducing, for Android users, the ability to set your own startup parameters. So at the moment, desktop users, server users have free reign of what parameters they want on startup. So they can set their mini dApp password, for example. They can run as an archive node, and we're going to be introducing the same functionality for Android users. And another thing we're also working on is a new solution for archive resyncs. So I'm sure lots of you are familiar with the archive resync process, either doing a chain resync if you found yourself up in the wrong chain, or doing a seed phrase. And we're going to be making this easier and faster for everyone, and also reducing that reliance again on our archive nodes. So those are just some of the things we're working on. And I'll also mention our developer tutorials. So we've got some tutorials, more tutorials coming in the pipeline. We've got a few on YouTube already. So we've got a walkthrough of the wallet, how that's being put together. There's also a tutorial on how to decentralize the Uniswap front end by making it into a mini dApp, which is quite cool. If I do say so myself. And then we've got a developer introduction to, and there'll be another one up shortly, which is about how to write a smart contract on Minima. And just continuing with developers, we're going to be starting weekly developer calls. And to keep them focused, they're going to be invite only to start with. But if you're building something on Minima, please drop me a DM and I'll add you into the group. And yeah, we'll see how those go. But I'm excited to get that started as well. So long update, sorry, but that's everything for me. Thanks, Luke.
Cheers, Jaz. Yep. So yeah, great update. Obviously, lots of things going on. Thank you for that. So we're now moving on to the the AMA segment. I'll start with the questions that have already been submitted, and then we'll take a dive into the ones that have been submitted whilst we've been talking. This one's going to be for you, Hugo. Kwan Shebek is asking I wonder how the issue of partnership with telecommunication companies is progressing.
Thanks, Luke. Yes, I mean, as a lot of you all know, we've been working with telcos, telecommunication companies for a long time now, and we started a Swisscom that ran our first code audit and testnet, and then we ran a successful proof of concept with Manx Telecom in the UK, to demonstrate how tokens could be issued by telcos to allow network access without the need to change their back-end system. And getting traction with telcos is really the trick is to find a solution that can have fast commercial impact without requiring the telcos to completely redesign their systems. And I'm pleased to say that we're now exploring a solution that does just this, basically. I'll give you a quick overview of it. I mean, the proposition merges network access with digital advertising and customer loyalty programs. The core of this concept revolves around sponsorship network access tokens for pay-as-you-go customers. So these tokens not only provide network access to the customer, but they also unlock exclusive promotions and offers from a range of brands. And this means that the tokens can be branded with the sponsor's logo. And so this adds personalization and real access to these customers for these sponsors. The conversation we've been having with the telcos about the advantages for this is that what it does is it basically sort of creates diversified revenue streams. So the system allows for revenue generation not only from traditional pay-as-you-go top-up services, but also additional revenue from advertising fees paid by sponsors for featuring their brand on these network access tokens. And it also gives extra customer engagement, because by providing sponsored tokens that grant access to exclusive promotions, you can also create more personalised, engaging experience for customers. And, a lot of research is going on at the moment by telcos to look at the best way to bring on board sort of younger generation that are looking for more from their brands and more from their sort of connectivity. So this is resonating very well. This will also then lead to telcos being able to form more seamless partnerships with the diverse array of brands that will strengthen their position in the market. We're in discussion with a number of global telcos now about this proposition, and hopefully making further announcements within Q3 of this year. But suffice to say that the feedback has been extremely positive, and we hope to be able to make some more concrete announcements within the quarter.
I'm sure everyone will be really excited about that development, and we'll be looking forward to hearing more. DNA has asked, is the idea of creating a pseudo bridge from Treasury being considered yet, or fully discarded? This would open a channel for people to swap wrapped for native on a 1-to-1 ratio without having to find counterparties and, more importantly, without negatively affecting the token price, since I assume the team would either keep or ideally burn the exchange wrapped. Who wants to pick that one up?
Yeah, I can pick that up. So it is something we're still intending to do. So it will just be a channel where you can come to us and we'll buy back the Minima at 1-to-1 ratio. We will burn the Minima, wrapped Minima, and send native in return. So watch this space. It's still coming.
Yeah, absolutely is. We're working on that channel right now, and we'll pop an announcement on Discord and on our other channels once that is available for you. Granvi asks, how are the partnerships progressing, and is the planned launch of the Minima coin still on target for Q3, Q4? I think that one's for you, Hugo.
Yes, so I'll pick up both those questions. The first part, partnerships progressing, yes. No, I mean, as we sort of covered off in the previous updates from Luke and myself, we're definitely making solid progress in our partnership. I'm also very conscious, of course, that these things take time. Interfacing with large enterprise businesses with millions of customers does take time, but I'm confident it'll be worth the wait. What we're sort of seeing to be the conversation we're often having now with organisations is that it's almost like a sort of Web 2.5 in terms of that sort of transitional period from going from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, and you sort of need that sort of stepping stones. And so, example that I just mentioned about the telcos is that, the beauty of that solution is that they can create a whole load of functionality, a new functionality within their network without having to disrupt their back-end systems, because Minima, as a front-end sort of token solution, creates all of this additional functionality. And that's something, as well as driving revenue, which is something that the telcos are very interested in. But they know there's a potential, but they're just sort of quite cautious about how to implement it. So this sort of 2.5 Web 2.5 solution feels like a very strong stepping stone. But in general, I often talk about us building a stone house on granite foundations rather than straw house on sand. And that obviously takes time, but will make us much stronger in the future. So we're looking to build solutions that offer genuine utility rather than purely focused around sort of making a quick buck. So that takes time, but we're definitely on that journey, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback from it. In terms of the question about Coin still on target for a Q3, Q4 launch, I'm assuming that is talking about referencing Minima being listed on the SEXs and centralized exchanges. It is our plan to integrate Minima with Rosetta middleware that was required to connect a decentralized network to a centralized exchange. We're looking to do that this year, and this will enable us to have native Minima being traded on the SEXs. And obviously, you can already trade Minima via the Miniswap, but this will be for the 6 SEXs integration as well.
I think it's also worth noting, when talking about the discussions being had with these larger organisations as partners, that, as Hugo said, they move at their own pace, and commercial sensitivities mean that we can't talk more in a way that we would want to until the partners are happy for us to. Which is, I can understand how that would be frustrating, but it is commercial reality, unfortunately, and we'll always talk about things as soon as we can.
Yeah, it's frustrating for all of us, but we're keeping hard at work and working to their timelines. Hopefully we'll be making some more announcements very soon.
Absolutely. RV asks, this one's for you, Jaz. How far is the Minima app from the iPhone App Store, or to paraphrase, when iPhone, Jaz?
I think this might be our most asked question. Yeah, I mean, as we've mentioned before, because of Apple's policy of not allowing apps to run background processes, Minima can't run on an iPhone in the same way that it does on an Android device. But if you have a server, or if you have a static IP address at home, you can run a node there and connect to it from your iPhone. And we are also looking into ways of offering Minima as a service for iPhone users by running nodes in the cloud. So we've still got our mind focused on iPhone. We're just trying to kind of figure out the most elegant solution, I think.
But fair to say, it's very much at the front of our minds. We want everyone to be able to access it. Unbearable on Discord asks, what are the long-term plans for Minima downloads? Most have automatic updates enabled, but isn't remaining in Google Play Store a point of failure where just the one person who sends updates to the Play Store could be attacked? I presume push up a malicious version. Jaz, any comment on that?
Yeah, it's a fair concern. I think I touched on it briefly earlier, but with this shift to moving the hub to a mini DApp rather than a new version of the APK, hopefully we'll get away from so many Google updates, and it will be more of like a mini DApp update. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously not ideal to have a single point of failure for the Google Play Store. But the other alternative is to have kind of Minima as a downloadable APK directly from Discord, which obviously makes it a little bit harder for people to join the network. But it's obviously something that we're looking at as part of this wider move to becoming a fully decentralized network.
Cheers, Jaz. Caught me out there with my clumsy fingers. Multeni asks, are DEXs being developed on our favourite and best blockchain?
Yeah, we would definitely love to have a DEX, and it is something that we're hoping to build internally. It's something that we haven't started yet, but we would like to in the near future. At the same time, if anyone in the community start working on it, then we'd be happy to start supporting you doing that. But yes, it is something that we are thinking of building.
Cheers, Jaz. Pecan asks, has Mini Farm been successful? Do you intend to continue after August, and for how long? How many tokens do you intend to allocate after August if Mini Farm continues? It's probably one for you, Hugo.
Yes, no, I mean, Mini Farm's definitely been successful in terms of getting more volume traded, which is great news. And so, yeah, we definitely look to continue Mini Farm beyond the initial 3-month burst. In terms of the actual numbers, in terms of how many minima we will set aside for that, we will make announcements about that in due course.
Great. Cheers for that one, Hugo. Excuse me, Mon3 on Discord is asking, is there any chat with M-Pesa or M-Pesa-like groups? Is there any effort going into engaging the global south, less developed nations? Does the focus on IoT mean that the weight given to growing the actual human known count is on the back burner?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So I'm Mon3. So I mean, we have in the past been having chats with the likes of M-Pesa and the groups. I mean, obviously, that is about putting, transacting value on the network. And we've had many conversations about that with the telcos. Obviously, that's a huge step change for them, one that they're beginning to see and beginning to believe in as a possibility for blockchain to deliver. I mean, obviously, Minima sits perfectly positioned as a sort of native mobile blockchain to do that. What we've found is just in general, in terms of working with enterprises, that you have to sort of go where the money is in terms of sort of real fast, quick commercial upside for them without too much development work or disruption from their side. And so that's the sort of the initial sort of front door opening that we have. Once we have that wedge in the door, then we will be going into more discussions with the telcos on onto the wider ranging options and solutions. In terms of going south and less developed nations, yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the telcos that we're working with at the moment, we're in discussions with on the partnership side of things, is the largest telco in Africa, and they have a huge number of users. And obviously, the developing nations have always been good at sort of jumping technology in terms of going straight to where the most innovative solutions are. So we're definitely finding that they are very open to the solutions that we're posing for them. In terms of IoT and whether or not focusing on IoT means down-weighting the human node count. I mean, IoT is not just purely to do with machine to machine, but it's also machine to people as well. And in many ways, if we bring on board enterprise clients who bring sort of millions of users, then by definition, both on the telco side, that's a human trait, and also in many ways the automotive solution in terms of, for example, EV charging, where you have EV charging boxes that will allow users to rent out their own boxes. Again, there would be humans there, where suddenly humans get more freedom to choose which systems they use for EV charging and stuff like that, basically. So yeah, I see those two things as complementary and interlinked rather than being one direction versus another, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it's like a top-down and bottom-up approach. George asks, can you give us an idea on Minima team's cash burn rate? How many months can the team be funded for? That's going to be one for you, Hugo.
So yeah, I mean, at the moment, as I mentioned in the last community call, We are working on further capital raises with strategic investors, not least in sort of the areas of enterprise engagement that we're working on. But we have runway to take us all the way through to the end of this year, and then with the cash injection that we're looking to close over the coming months, then that'll take us well into 2024 and beyond.
Thanks, Hugo. Montrigo asks, what are you doing to get more humans interested in using Minima starting a node? Is there any conflict between the clearly revolutionary nature of Minima and the mostly non-revolutionary realities of enterprise and their incentives? On the first point, Montrigo, I think the way in getting people to use Minima or starting a node is through utility, and it's through finding ways for them to actually get benefit of running a node from a lens of what they already do in their everyday life. And the thing I touched on earlier on with what we're working on in EV charging is an example of that, and I think it will make more sense when we talk more about it in a couple of weeks. On the enterprise side, I think that's probably, again, for you, Hugo.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, people always talk about how you're going to bring on board the next billion Web3 users. And I believe very firmly that is going to be about almost making blockchain invisible to people, so that effectively it sits there in the background doing all of the really innovative things that blockchain can facilitate, and people just go about their daily life having a better user experience, more control of their data, the value that they have, and everything like that. It's going to be that kind of an approach. So while enterprise seems boring to lots of people, it's actually the thing that makes the world go round, and will allow us to build exciting, interesting applications on top, once we've sort of driven the adoption with Minima nodes running on devices in order to be able to talk to cars, talk to people, everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got one final question here from K. They would like to create a useful mini DApp. Is there any docs on how to do that? They're not a node dev and don't understand anything in development, just want to try their hand with the help AI coding and things like that. They've tried using ChatGPT, but it doesn't solve the issue in full. Under docs, they've seen the information about Minima blockchain, but they want to know how to run a smart contract, how to run transactions, how to create dependencies, etc. I think that probably leans into what you were talking about earlier on, Jaz. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
Yeah, definitely. I will share a couple of links with you. If you go to docs.minima.global, there's a build section, and within there you'll see a section for how to build a mini DApp. I'd recommend just starting with a basic mini DApp, just going through the steps there. And then once you feel a bit more comfortable, you can have a look at the interactive mini DApp, and there's also a separate section on which shows you some examples of smart contracts that you can have a play around with. And either later today or tomorrow, we'll have a new YouTube video up on how to write a smart contract on Minima, which you can have a look at. And we do have several more videos in the pipeline as well about how to build mini dApps. So yeah, I'd recommend to start with have a look at the build section. You can also, if you haven't already, you can give yourself the community developer role, and then that will give you access to the dev channels, and you can ask questions to the community devs there, who will be happy to help you out. But yeah, pleased to hear that you're keen to start building a mini DApp.
Always exciting to see people trying something new. I'd also add, Kay, that one of our helpful community ninjas, Wizard, has posted a video in the Stage Questions channel that you may find helpful/useful. Okay, so I think that's all the questions. We've gone through them all today. Thank you everyone who submitted. Jaz, Hugo, anything you'd like to add in closing?
Well, actually, I saw a question regarding sort of AI hype, and whether or not we were going to sort of jump on that bandwagon. We're not specifically doing that, but we are working with a really good team that is building an AI solution on Minima in order to deliver users with complete ownership of all of their data and help them make their lives better. That's something that we will hopefully be able to announce as a project in the coming weeks. So watch this space between AI and Minima.
Cheers, Hugo. Thank you for that. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us today. As I said at the top, this call has been recorded, and we'll get that up onto YouTube and share that with you all later, so you can catch up. Again, thank you for your time today, and we look forward to catching up with you all again very soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much, everybody. Great to see you all.
Bye.